Welcome, everyone, back to Konan the Grammarian. On this channel, we talk about all things English. Grammar, spelling, punctuation, syntax. If it can be correct, incorrect, or corrected, Konan covers it. I'm AJ Mittendorf. I'm Konan's spokesperson on this channel. Yes, there is a real Konan, but we spell it here with a K on this channel, and that's mostly just for fun, but not entirely. This episode is called Alrighty Then. No, it's called Alrighty Then. Thus saith Konan. Alright, this episode is based on a principle that Konan and I like to live by, or at least try to live by, and that rule is this. All disciplines should be based on rules that are consistent across its own board. One English rule, for example, that is 100% consistent is the rule that says the subject of a sentence can never be found in a prepositional phrase. Okay, what's a prepositional phrase? Well, first of all, you have a preposition. A preposition is a word that indicates where you are in relation to a house. You can be in the house, you can be outside the house, you can be out of the house. Both out and of are prepositions. You can be above the house, you can be below the house, you can be under the house, you can be against the house, you can be, well, I've run out of ideas. You get the point. Anywhere you can be in relation to a house. Then a prepositional phrase ends with a noun. What's a noun? That's the name of a person, place, or thing. Let me think of an example of a noun. House. There you go. So, if you are in the house, that's a prepositional phrase. It begins with the preposition in. It ends with the noun house. In the house is a prepositional phrase. In that phrase, you have a noun. That noun cannot be the subject of the sentence. A subject of a sentence is also generally a noun, but that noun will not be in that prepositional phrase. One prepositional phrase that confuses everyone is the prepositional phrases that begin with of, and they will try to conjugate the verb according to the noun in that prepositional phrase, and it is wrong 100% of the time. Always. Because, as the rule says, the subject of your sentence can never be found in a prepositional phrase. Do you know the rule that says there's an exception to every rule? Well, this rule is the exception to that rule. There are no exceptions. All rules and all disciplines should be constructed in this way. And then, if there are exceptions, let them be exceptions that have purpose and reason as their foundation. For example, a bad example. Who is the knucklehead who decided that the borrowed Chinese word that we pronounce chi, as in cheetah, or cheater, or Cheetos, whatever. Who decided that that word should be spelled Q-I? Oh, crom. Why don't you just spell it M&M? You know, it's that weird. Who decides these things? And whoever it is, slap the people, or person, as the case may be. Where is the precedent for spelling the CH sound with a Q? Let me answer that question. There is none. Having said that, and while I still think the spelling is so outrageous as to be insulting, it does, fortunately for us, provide an answer to the question that Konan and I received from several viewers regarding our last episode, to wit, what about the words with the CH sound? If you get rid of the letter C, as you proposed in the first episode, how will you spell that sound? Good question. Well, let me tell you first, I want to answer fully. We never really intended to truly rid our alphabet of the letters C and X. Our point in that argument was to show how silly people are when they make all the many complaints about English that they do, especially when those complaints are repeated hundreds of times by hundreds of people, all who seem to think that they originated the complaints, which they most assuredly did not. Thus saith Konan. However, the goon, or goons, as the case may be, who chose to spell chi, Q-I, have provided us with an actual alternative to the letter C. So, without the letter C, the Chinese can cheat English-speaking children by stitching up the hole where the C used to be and by putting the mispronounced Q in its place. It wouldn't be a huge challenge because so few chaps in North America know how to spell anyway. It might just be a good choice after all, and it even provides material for cheesy jokes. I mean, what a chucklehead! Remember, Chester says, Cheetos go crunch. Cheaters never achieve real victories, and champions don't cheat. If you think this is cheap humor, just wait till I get into the real subject of episode 2. Konan and I would like to discuss a list of precedents to see if we can form a rule based on them. Then we're going to extrapolate from that rule and the precedents that led to it to see if the rule can apply to other terms. So here we go. In English, we have the word altogether, and we have the phrase altogether. Now, the two sound identical, but the meanings are vastly different. The word altogether means entirely, or absolutely, or even completely. But the phrase altogether means everyone gathered, or everyone included. In fact, you can even say to the entire Roman pantheon, you are altogether, altogether. And it even makes sense. Again, another precedent, we have the word almighty, but we can also have the correct but less than common phrase almighty. Again, they sound identical, but their meanings are as different as the words yes and no. The word almighty means all-powerful, omnipotent, or supreme. The phrase almighty can be used like this. We're almighty glad to know you. But in that case, the two words don't really form a coherent phrase. The sentence means everyone here is very glad to know you, and it's a very colloquial expression. For the sake of this video, we'll use the phrase thusly. In this room, we're all mighty, which means everyone in this room is mighty or powerful. You could say, again, to the entire Roman pantheon, you are almighty, but even altogether, you're not altogether almighty. And that even makes sense. Similarly, we have the word already, and we have the phrase already. They too sound identical, but their meanings are the opposite of identical. The word already means by now or by then, by that time, so soon, or even previously. The phrase already, however, means everyone is prepared, or everyone is available, or everyone is willing. You could say to the entire Roman pantheon, already you're almighty, but even altogether you're not all ready to be altogether almighty. And even that makes sense. Another precedent. We have the word always, and we have the phrase always. Once again, the two sound identical, but their meanings are as different as same and different. The word always means at all times, or each time, or even constantly. The phrase, however, always means every direction or every method. You could say to the entire Roman pantheon, already you're almighty in all ways, but even altogether you're not all ready to be always altogether almighty. And even that makes sense. Furthermore, we have the word a lot, and we have the phrase a lot. As you may have surmised, the two sound identical, but their meanings are as different as Venus and Mars. The word a lot means to apportion, which means to distribute or to allocate proportionately, or to divide evenly, to dole. The phrase a lot is an adjectival phrase that means many or much. You could say to the entire Roman pantheon, "We will allot power to you all, but already a lot of you are almighty in all ways that have already been allotted to you, but even altogether you're not already to be always altogether almighty." And even that makes sense. Then you have the phrase, all right, but you don't really have the word all right. Not yet. It is not yet considered correct. The phrase all right means everyone is correct, or depending on how it's used, it can also mean unquestionably. But because the word all right is not yet an accepted idiom, all right is needlessly also used to mean in good health or well. Oh, crap! We have the logic, we have the precedence, we have the purpose, but we do not yet have the word, at least not in all circles. And that is something that must change. How do you make change to a language? How do you start using a word in English and make it become standard and even good grammar, quote unquote? You start using it and you keep using it. That's how. When I write, I'm speaking as AJ alone here, I insist on using the word all right at every logical opportunity, and I refuse to back down from that, because I want to make that word all right acceptable and correct in grammatical circles, even in the English classrooms at high school, junior high, and college levels. Now, if you're a student, you will likely encounter resistance from some teachers who will tell you that all right, the word, is still considered incorrect. That gives you two options. If you are concerned with your grades and you want to get through high school in a reasonable amount of time, you can decide to comply with your teacher for the sake of good grades. Or, if you like high school, you want to stick around, or you like college, you want to stick around there, or you don't think you'll fail because your grades elsewhere in English are really, really good, then you can insist on using the word all right consistently without regard to how it impacts your grade, assuming that it does. If we all continue to do so, eventually, all right will be all right. Thus saith Konan. Then, if you do, you will be able to say to the entire Roman pantheon, all right, we will allot power to you all, but already a lot of you are almighty in all ways that have already been allotted to you, but even altogether you're not already to be always altogether almighty. And even that makes sense. So, let's get out there and make it happen. All right? Alrighty then. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, if you did enjoy it, or even if you didn't, go ahead and lie and click that like on the video. Do it! Like us on Facebook and soon on MeWe. Do it now! Please also subscribe if you like this content. Just do it. And don't forget to click that bell icon to get notifications whenever we upload new episodes. Now! Please leave a positive comment, but if you would prefer to leave a comment or criticism or something that might be helpful to improve the channel, I'm sure that we would both be willing to listen. And I also humbly ask, not so humbly, that you share. I dare you not to share. I want you all to have a grand and wonderful day, and a great week, and we will see you next time in episode number 3. You take care. Bye-bye.